My opinion on meat has changed a lot in the last few years. I used to think it was really bad for your cholesterol and your heart health. And for that reason, I would recommend people avoid red meat as much as possible. There are studies that consistently link red meat consumption with cancer risk, diabetes, dementia, and an overall higher chance of dying earlier. These are all not great things. And it's true to say that from the available evidence, if you eat more red meat, the data would conclude that you have a higher risk of worse outcomes. There also appears to be what's called a dose response. This is the more people eat red meat, the higher the risk of these conditions. And this all points in the direction of red meat causing the issues that it's linked with, which is impossible to prove because these sorts of observational studies are not the ones that we rely on for causation. But these dose response analyses indicate that each extra 100 grams per day of red meat that you consume is associated with an increase of 14 to 22% in things like colorectal cancer risk. These are all pretty worrying when you look at these stats, and that 14 to 22% is relative risk increase. That's very, very important to note. And with all these said and done, all these studies, it's resulted in the IARC, this is the International Agency for Research on Cancer, labeling both processed meat, so these are the salamis and cold cuts and things that are fixed with nitrates and other preservatives, to be labeled as a class 1 carcinogen, up there with smoking, very, very worrying, and unprocessed red meat, so these are just your cuts of sirloin or venison or even whole sausages that without the preservatives and stuff, as probable carcinogens. This is class 2A. Now, the most influential evidence came from large prospective cohort studies conducted over the last 20 years. These are not the best sorts of studies to rely on, and it's likely that there are multiple confounding variables. Confounding variables are essentially things that confound the data. They confuse the data. They can show an association when actually there might not be something there, or it's not caused by the thing that you're looking at, in this case, red meat. And what they've generally shown is that people who eat the most red and processed meat roughly have a 15 to 20% higher risk of developing colorectal cancer. That's compared to those who eat the least. Now, you've probably heard a lot of this through headlines or people of a vegan persuasion or plant-based doctors. It all sounds super scary. But the issue with these sorts of studies that you don't often hear are that even if we were to believe that these studies are representative of a true rise in things like cancer risk, the effect size is generally very weak. So when we're looking at this 18% increase in relative risk, we're actually talking about 0.7 extra colorectal cancer cases per 1,000 people, or an additional 1 case per 1,400 people who eat over 100 grams of red meat per day, which is a lot of red meat.